From the previous three lectures, we have been addressing the exegesis and interpreting the exegesis of the third verse of Surah Al Baqarah, in which Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala states, "Alladhina yu'minuna bil Ghaybi," who believe in the unseen. And today, in our fourth lecture, we further the exegesis of the very same verse of the Holy Quran, the third verse of Surah Al Baqarah, and we consider the part where Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala states, "Alladhina yu'minuna bil Ghaybi," who believe in the unseen. So while in the previous lecture we concluded that Iman bil Ghayb is greater, which is having belief in Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala and His beloved Prophet, peace be upon him. Yet, and despite the fact that we have not seen Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, nor have we seen the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, from our naked eyes, but still we believe in the unseen. Iman bil Ghayb. This is Iman bil Ghayb. And then the other argument towards which we interpreted and elucidated was, and we considered the fact that the word Ghayb has been interpreted in various manners by various scholars of Islam. The scholars and exegetes of Islam have held various views in the construction and construing of this specific verse of the Holy Quran, and in particular the word Ghayb. The word Ghayb means differently for different scholars and exegetes and mufassirin of Islam. And today we further the interpretation of the same verse of the Holy Quran, but from a different perspective. And today we consider the assertion that whether is it possible for a man, whether it is possible for a human being to be aware or to possess knowledge of the Ghayb, knowledge of the unseen, whether it is possible or not, and on what grounds is such an assertion based. My Sayyidi Shaykh Ahmad Mohsin Munawar Yousafi, he states and submits, and his view is that yes, human beings are capable of having knowledge of the unseen, of the Ghayb, but it has a condition to it. And the condition is that it is Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala who gives that knowledge of the Ghayb unseen to His beloved people, His prophets, the saints of Allah, and hence they do know what the Ghayb is, but only what has been told to them by Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. So today this is our topic, and it is our belief that creation, mankind, human beings, they are capable by Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, by the blessings of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, they are capable enough that they are made known to some extent the knowledge of the Ghayb, the knowledge of the unseen. However, there is a condition to it. There is a condition to it, and that condition is that the knowledge of the unseen, the knowledge of the Ghayb, has to be specific. It does not have to be absolute. So mankind cannot know and cannot possess absolute knowledge of the Ghayb. They cannot possess absolute or unconditional knowledge of the Ghayb, but mankind possesses knowledge of the Ghayb in a specific manner, the knowledge of the Ghayb which is specific, which is conditional, and which has been provided to mankind by Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, by Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. So this is the precise and fundamental distinction and precise explanation as to what kind of the knowledge of the Ghayb can human beings or mankind possess. It has to be specific knowledge as per the conclusion and arguments provided from the scholars. They assert and they submit and they put forward the contention and conclude thereby that the knowledge of the Ghayb unseen has to be specific in nature for human beings to know about that, for Muslims to know about that. However, the knowledge of the Ghayb cannot be absolute. It is only Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala who has absolute knowledge, who has the entire knowledge of the Ghayb. But human beings does not have the absolute knowledge. They have conditional knowledge, which has been provided to them by Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. They do not have that knowledge all by themselves, but they have been given that knowledge by someone. And who is he? Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. It is Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala who has given them this knowledge. It is Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala who has knowledge of all matters of the unseen, all matters of the Ghayb. However, on the other hand, human beings, mankind, they simply cannot have knowledge of the entire knowledge of the unseen. They cannot know about all of those matters, but only what Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala has blessed them with, they can know about that matters. For instance, the prophets of Allah, they had knowledge of the Ghayb. They had knowledge of the unseen. They knew about the matters of the unseen. But only those matters of the unseen were known to them, were revealed upon them, which were told to them by Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. So Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala revealed upon them. Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala conveyed and gave them news of those matters of the unseen. And only then were those prophets, those beloved prophets of Allah, able to know about those matters of the unseen, matters of the Ghayb. So it is Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala who has absolute knowledge, and no one other than Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala can have that absolute knowledge, but only specific knowledge. It is only Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala who has knowledge without conditions, unconditional knowledge which we cannot even know of. However, we have conditional knowledge which have been provided to us by Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, and the ones who have been provided with this knowledge, they are the beloved people of Allah. They are the prophets and the saints of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. So in support of our belief, this is our belief. So in support of this belief, in support of this Aqidah, the respectable, the revered Hazrat Imam Ahmad Raza Khan Sahab Rahmatullah Alayh, he writes that if a person assumes and he says that he knows knowledge of the Ghayb, knowledge of the unseen all by himself, then that person is an infidel. That person is not a believer. That person is a disbeliever, and he is not a Muslim. He is, however, a non-Muslim, because a Muslim cannot say at any time that this knowledge of the Ghayb he possesses all by himself. God forbid, na'uzubillah. It is only Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala who has knowledge of the Ghayb, the entire knowledge of the Ghayb, and then He gives that knowledge to the one He deems appropriate, to the ones He deems appropriate. He gives that knowledge to them. He blesses His beloved people with that knowledge to a certain extent. But the entire knowledge, it is Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala who has that knowledge. The Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, the unsurpassable model of behavior, the seal of apostleship, the seal of prophethood, the noble, the honorable, the respectable, the most respected, the beloved, the Holy Prophet, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He had knowledge of the Ghayb, he had knowledge of the unseen. But the point to note is that he was also given knowledge by Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. It was Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala who gave that knowledge to our beloved and the merciful creations, our beloved Prophet, peace be upon him. So the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, was given that knowledge. Allama Mir Sayyid Sharif, he writes that associating this knowledge towards a Ghairullah, who is someone other than Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, the absolute knowledge of the unseen, Ghayb, is not permissible, because this connotes, enables one to assume that such a person possesses the knowledge of the Ghayb unseen all by himself, when that is not the case. A person cannot have knowledge of the unseen, a person cannot have any knowledge whatsoever actually, all by himself. It is Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala who has blessed that person with that knowledge. It is Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala who has granted that knowledge to that person. So one cannot say that. And the one who says that, who asserts that, who claims that, and who alleges that I have absolute knowledge of the unseen and matters of the Ghayb, matters of the unseen, then that person, as per Ala Hazrat Imam Ahmad Raza Khan Sahab, one of the most respectful saints, that person is an infidel, he is a non-Muslim and a disbeliever, because the matters of the unseen, Ghayb, it is only Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala who has absolute knowledge. We, mankind, they have and they can have, and if they will have knowledge of this, then that will be specific in nature, not absolute in nature. Only Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala can have absolute knowledge, but they can only have specific knowledge which have been given to them, granted to them by Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. So Ala Hazrat Imam Ahmad Raza Khan Rahmatullah Alayh, he states with respect to this belief in Aqidah and in regards to the knowledge of the unseen, the knowledge of the Ghayb, that Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala blessed the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, with that knowledge of the Ghayb. He says that if the knowledge from the start up until the end is put together and is equated along besides the knowledge which the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, possessed, then in front of the majestic nature of the knowledge, in front of the abundant amount of knowledge of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, even if the knowledge of the entire creation is put together, it will not be equal to a single particle in front of the huge and the abundant and something which cannot be enumerated, the knowledge of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. The Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, his knowledge is so much that even if the knowledge from the start up until the end of the creation is put together, that would not match the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him's knowledge. Yet, despite that, Ala Hazrat Imam Ahmad Raza Khan Sahab Rahmatullah Alayh, he states a beautiful thing. He says that the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, has the most amount of knowledge, the knowledge which we cannot even enumerate, the knowledge which we cannot even think. Yet, the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, one cannot say that he has, our beloved Prophet has absolute knowledge, but our beloved, peace be upon him, was given that knowledge. The knowledge of the Ghayb, the knowledge of the unseen, the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, was given that knowledge from Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. So, if one says that he had knowledge all by himself from the very start, one cannot say that. It is Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala who gave that knowledge to our beloved Prophet, peace be upon him. So this is the Aqidah and belief of Muslims. The Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, his knowledge is such which is unfathomable. It is incomprehensible. One cannot enumerate the knowledge which our beloved and the seed of prophets, our beloved, peace be upon him, possess. Yet, despite that, that knowledge has been given to him. He has been granted that knowledge from Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. It is Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala who has absolute knowledge and who has knowledge of all matters of the unseen. And He has given that knowledge as He deems appropriate to His beloved Prophet, peace be upon him. And hence, Imam Ahmad Raza Khan Rahmatullah Alayhi states that when knowledge of the unseen, Ghayb, is associated with the creation, then it means that the knowledge of the Ghayb unseen is not absolute, but it is rather specific in nature. That Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala has given that knowledge to that person, has blessed that prophet or that saint of Allah with that knowledge of the Ghayb. For instance, Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala states in the Holy Quran, وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ مِن لَدُنَّا عِلْمًا, and bestowed upon him inspired knowledge from ourselves. Now it has been written about Hazrat Abbas radiallahu ta'ala that he states that Hazrat Khizr alayhi salam possesses the knowledge of the Ghayb, the knowledge of the unseen. And how did he possess that knowledge? It was Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala who granted that knowledge to Hazrat Khizr alayhi salam. And this is what the blessed verse of the Holy Quran states, وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ مِن لَدُنَّا عِلْمًا, and bestowed upon him inspired knowledge from ourselves. Now Allama Ibn Hajar Makki Shafi'i, he writes that if a person so says, that what I say, that a moment has knowledge of the unseen, the Ghayb, that essentially means that it is Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala who has provided that knowledge to that person. So he says that when I say to someone that a moment has been blessed with knowledge of the unseen, knowledge of the Ghayb, that essentially interprets and that essentially means that person does not have absolute knowledge of the Ghayb, but he has specific knowledge of the Ghayb. Now there is a fine line which differentiates between what is absolute knowledge and what is specific knowledge. Absolute knowledge is only what Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala has. Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala has absolute knowledge. He has knowledge of everything. However, it is mankind who has specific knowledge. We have been given that knowledge, only that specific knowledge, as has been deemed appropriate by Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. So we have been given that knowledge by Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. It is not there from the start within ourselves, all by ourselves, by our hard work. One cannot put forward that contention whatsoever. It is Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala who has blessed us with that knowledge. So this is a fine distinction which has to be made clear. Now my Sayyidi Shaykh Ahmad Mohsin Munawar Yousafi, he states that some Awliyaa Allah are given knowledge of the unseen Ghayb through speech, some through ilham, the divine inspiration, some through kashaf, spiritual uncovering, revealing manifestations. And then he states that there are some Awliyaa Allah as well, in front of whom is the Lawh Mahfuz, the preserved tablet, and they can see whatever is written on that Lawh Mahfuz. They are able to see whatever is written on that. For example, Hazur Wasi Azam, Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani, Hazur Wasi Azam, the knowledge of the Ghayb unseen which Hazrat Khizr alayhi salam possessed, that has been recorded in the divine book of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, in the majestic, the glorious book, the Holy Quran itself. Hazrat Khizr alayhi salam was a saint of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. He was a Wali Allah, and Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala states in the Holy Quran that he was given that knowledge of the Ghayb, knowledge of the unseen from Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, and it has been well recorded in the blessed book, the Holy Quran. For instance, let's take another example. Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq, when the wife of Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu was pregnant, Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu at that moment gave news that the child born will be a boy. He gave those glad tidings before the birth. So these are the matters of the Ghayb, matters of the unseen, and this knowledge have been given to them, to such pious people, by Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. Let's take another example. When Hazrat Umar Farooq, one of the four caliphs of Islam, when Hazrat Umar Farooq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, it was his period of caliphate, when he commanded and instructed one of his commanders, Hazrat Sariya, to go towards Nahavand for the purposes of war against the disbelievers. Now it was the day of Friday, and it was the time of Jummah. It was the time of Friday prayers. And there in Medina al-Munawwara, the blessed Medina Sharif, Hazrat Umar Farooq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu was there in the mosque, ready for the Friday prayers. And he was delivering the Friday sermon, and at the very same time, simultaneously there, thousands of miles ahead in Nahavand, Hazrat Sariya was in a state of war against the non-Muslims. Now when Hazrat Umar Farooq radiyallahu ta'ala was delivering the Friday sermon, witnesses did see this and witnessed this, that he left the Friday sermon all of a sudden, And he recited this while shouting in a loud voice. He recited, Ya Sariyatu Jabal, Ya Sariyatu Jabal, Ya Sariyatu Jabal. O Sariya, move towards the mountains at once. O Sariya, move towards the mountain at once. O Sariya, move towards the mountain at once. And he said this 3 times. The people there in the mosque were astonished. They were surprised and they were amazed as to what really occurred. That Hazrat Umar Farooq was delivering the Friday sermon, and all of a sudden he left that. And he started saying this to Hazrat Sariya, who was thousands of miles away in Nahavand, that, O Sariya, move towards the mountain at once. Ya Sariya to Jabal. Later, after the Friday prayers, after the Friday which had passed, a messenger brought a letter of Hazrat Sariya to Hazrat Umar Farooq. And in that letter it was written that, O Umar Farooq, it was the day of Friday and it was the time of Friday sermon, and we were in the state of war against the disbelievers and the non-Muslims, and we were nearing loss. We were about to lose the war when right at the time of Friday prayers we heard your voice, but you were not there. We heard your voice 3 times, and the voice said, Ya Sariyatu Jabal, Ya Sariyatu Jabal, Ya Sariyatu Jabal. O Sariya, move towards the mountain at once. O Sariya, move towards the mountain at once. O Sariya, move towards the mountain at once. And Hazrat Sariya writes in the letter to Hazrat Umar Farooq that as soon as we moved towards the mountain, the war which we were losing, we won that war. We won that war. Now this is a profound and an excellent example which showcases and reflects the belief of our Muslims that such pious people of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, they possess this knowledge of the Ghayb, this knowledge of the unseen, but they possess specific knowledge. They do not have absolute knowledge. Only Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala has absolute knowledge. They have been given that knowledge by Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. So this is a fine distinction which one should note. Now the saints of saints, the saints of saints, the saint of saints, Gilani, Mahbub Subhani, Qutb Rabbani, Shahbaz Ila Makani, Ghaus Samdani, Kindil Nurani, Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani, the great falcon, the radiant lamp, the unrivaled, the saint of saints, Hazur Ghaus Azam, Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Now this incident which I am about to narrate and address has been recorded in the authentic and a beautiful book, Kalaid al-Jawahir. And it is, in that book it is written that Hazrat Khizr al-Husaini says that one following day, my spiritual guide, Sayyidi Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani, he stated to me, O Khizr al-Husaini, you shall now travel from here, from Baghdad to Mosul, and when you shall go there, you will be blessed with a child, and amongst your children, your first child will be a boy. His name will be Muhammad. That is, your son's name will be Muhammad, and you will appoint a teacher for him. And listen to me, O Khizr al-Husaini, you shall appoint a teacher for him, and that first child, he will become a memorizer of the Holy Quran. He will become a hafiz of the Holy Quran. Your second child will be an Ajami. Your third child's name will be Ali. Your fourth child will be unsighted. He will be blind. Your fourth child will be unsighted. And your child Muhammad will memorize the entire Holy Quran in 7 months. And your age will be 94 years, 6 months and 7 days, and you shall die after that. Your demise will take place after that date. It is noteworthy that Hazur Wasi Azam was telling all of these incidents and reporting all of these matters to him before the time that he will have as many children, he will have this many children, his age will be this, he will be 94 years, 6 months and 7 days, and after that his demise will take place. And then he states that at the time of your demise you will be healthy, and your demise will take place in Babul. Your demise will take place in Babul. The narrator says that I met his son who confirmed to me, the son of Khizr al-Husayni, who confirmed to me that whatever Hazrat Wasal Azam said, all those 11 predictions that Hazur Wasi Azam radiallahu ta'ala anhu gave, he reported to his murid Khizr al-Husayni one by one, they all came out to be true. One by one, they all came out to be true. So such is the matter, that Awliyaa Allah, the prophets of Allah, the saints of Allah, the Anbiya Ikram, the Awliyaa Azam, my Sayyidi Shaykh Ahmad Mohsin Munawar Yousafi states, they definitely possess knowledge of the Ghayb, knowledge of the unseen, but knowledge which have been given to them. So therefore, Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala states in the Holy Quran, Alladina yu'minuna bil ghaybi, who believe in the unseen. To access the same lecture in Urdu, please click on the link available below in the description.